My group. Ortiz Farm was weird. Not how Ghost pictured farms, but it made sense. They'd crossed a field that had been left unharvested for years. Apple trees had been planted in the open spaces of the forest. Some of those meadows seemed to have been harvested too. Maybe wheat or something. Maybe they were trying to keep the farm hidden from copters. If signs of humans were wiped out in the city, farms could have been attacked too. It had snowed again, just enough to make everything sparkle. Everything that he could bear to look at looked so different in the light. The tall hedges that had formed a barrier were burnt. The Shivers had finished that yesterday. It was part of how they got Yellowcap defenders to waste ammunition. Now the Shivers just trampled their way straight to the farmhouse, unimpeded. It had a ridiculous little white fence, recently topped with barbed wire. Clive made them split into 3 groups: Tank, Scout, and Back. "I'll scout," Ghost said. Clive shook his head. "Old man said you were in danger." "It's not that kind of danger," Ghost said. "Then tell me," Clive said. "Do these Ortiz have a grudge against you or something?" Ghost sighed. "Yeah," he said. "But how am I going to help if—" "I'd love to hear the story sometime," Clive interrupted, "but for now—" "Old man didn't tell me to follow your orders," Ghost said. "You're in my group." "You'll find me with the scouts," Ghost said, taking off running before anyone could catch him. All he had to do was not fall back in with Clive, or he'd actually be restrained this time. As soon as he was out of sight, he took a hard left to get back from the advance of the group. The scouts saw him, but they didn't give chase. So he got clear, which was good, because crashing through the brush was wearing him out. He stumbled and fell on his knees, and his hand plunged into the sticks and earth, and got poked with a stick. He let himself fall forward onto his elbows, panting. He needed to eat, but he hadn't had an appetite since the night before last. Besides, his backpack was at the diner. He closed his eyes, resting. Nothing mattered. He heard gunshots in the distance. Shivers would take over the house. Then they'd make sure they had an advantage, despite their numbers, and start looting. Something along those lines. This seemed like as good a place as any to find out if hell existed. He dug his fingers into the mesh of sticks and pine needles that made up the forest floor, hitting frozen clay fast. He wondered if hell froze over in the winter. That would make this a good time to die. He didn't know how long he'd been lying like that when he heard soft voices and woke up. He strained his ears to hear, realizing that they weren't as far away as he thought. They were just whispering. Suddenly there was a voice right above his head. "Don't move. I have a gun." Whoever it was spoke in a low tone and sounded like a young man. Ghost squeezed his eyes shut. Then he opened them, deciding to speak. "But I have a death wish," he said. He turned his head slowly, raising up onto his hands and knees. He didn't really want to be shot right now. He squinted. The boy's face was dark against the sky above the trees. He had black hair and a ponytail. He looked vaguely familiar, and he held a rifle, pointed at Ghost. "You're a Shiver, right?" the boy said. "Sorry, but we need you." Ghost shook his head, getting up slowly. "You don't understand," he said. "I'll kill you. I don't want to get taken back to some camp to get a revenge beatdown because of my people. No thank you." Ghost rose, staring at the stunned boy with the gun, mustering up all the hostility he could in his exhausted state. He wavered on his feet, barely able to stand, hungrier than he'd realized, and no adrenaline was happening. "We're not going to hurt you," the boy said. "Bullshit," Ghost snarled. He spat. "Shivers have one of ours. We need—" He stopped short as Ghost stepped closer, bumping his chest into the end of the gun. "That's very brave," the boy said. "Would you fucking listen to me? I don't give a—" Ghost was cut off by being jerked back by the coat and a hand smushed over his mouth. "I'll remind you, gunshots hurt," a man's voice said into his ear. Ghost elbowed back, but the guy was wearing some kind of armor and tall, thick boots, which he found with his kicking feet. "Stop it, please," the man said. "I don't want to hurt you." "Dad," the boy said. The word chilled Ghost. He froze. "I think he's scared." "I'll take it from here, Kiraba," the dad answered. "Let's get him to the fort." Kiraba. That was the Yellowcap kid that Merc almost shot way back then. Kiraba nodded. The guy wasn't much of a grappler, but Ghost couldn't kick him hard enough. He couldn't quite reach his knife in his own pocket either. The most frustrating thing was that Ghost didn't want to hurt him either. And he knew he was wrong. He knew what people do when they're angry, which the farmers had every right to be. He couldn't struggle out of the man's grip. "Come on, please," the guy said. "I don't want to hurt you, but I will." Ghost moaned through his nose, terrified. "We need you. Please chill," Caraba said to him from behind the dad. Ghost grimaced and tried to go numb. Something about being suicidal made it impossible, like he wanted to feel everything before he died. Even his terror was exhilarating. Mostly horrible, though. They pushed him into a camouflaged little hut fort, layered with branches like a beaver dam. Kiraba's dad took his hand off Ghost's mouth after pushing him ahead. The door barred the moment it closed. There were a dozen strong guys in there, and a woman. "Look, I'm not a shiver," Ghost said, backing up, and he was met with Kiraba's dad's arm. "Check for a tattoo," one guy said. "They all have one." "Sorry about this." Kiraba's dad turned to him. "Wait!" Ghost backed into the wall. "The more they push you around, the more aggressive they will get. Avoid physical contact." "You can either tell us or I'll have to search you for a tattoo," the man said. "I'm sorry about this, but we have to have a shiver. They asked for a hostage trade." "They asked," Ghost repeated. "Fucking Clive." Kiraba's dad stepped toward him. No! Ghost flinched, shoving a hand into his pocket where the knife was. "Fine, I'm a shiver, but I didn't—" He stopped himself by closing his mouth tight. Being a shiver was probably enough for them, given what Clive's people had probably done. He waited for them to move in on him with their weapons. They didn't move, and that was much worse. They might suddenly jump forward together. He took stock of the situation with his eyes, trying to breathe. 13, plus Caraba and his dad. A shove to get the dad out of the way. Another shove for the door bar. Too slow. Getting grabbed was Ghost's biggest problem, so he'd have to beat everyone here, and he'd probably have to knife them. He didn't want to. "We got one," Kiraba's dad said into a walkie-talkie. "We should be able to negotiate for Natalie now." Ghost met the dad's eyes. There was no anger there, but some anxiety and regret. Reminded him of Crippler. "Please, I didn't do it," he said, gulping breaths of air and looking around, hoping someone would have a little sympathy and defend him. "I wasn't even here yesterday." The people just kind of stayed how they were. His words didn't have much of an effect. He backed up to the side, accidentally into Caraba, who put a hand on his shoulder. Ghost cringed and shrank away, expecting something painful next. Glancing back when nothing happened, he saw Caraba looking confused and a little sad. Ghost blushed, realizing Caraba wasn't going to hurt him at least. He probably wasn't the dangerous one here. So which one of them was it?